Okay, so I'm gonna paint these gravestones. These is the same graveyard pieces from the last video. You can see I did the dry brushing on them. And what we gotta do is we gotta pick out all these grave markers, candles, gravestones, and headstones that we have, big markers on there. And I'm gonna do them in purples. I decided, I was thinking about different color schemes, but I'm actually gonna do, this is a really dark purple, a medium purple, and then like an amethyst. It's got a little bit of metallic in it, not a lot, but these three paints are gonna be my base colors. And then I'm probably gonna dry brush with these two greens, like a medium green and then a bright green, because these greens next to the purples are really gonna pop. Anyway, I'm gonna use also number 3 brush. It's about a 1/2 inch long pointy brush today to do my painting with. I've got my cup of water, and of course I got my palette here, my ceramic tile palette. It's gloss coated with a paper towel to help me with any issues that come up. Anyway, I'll put a little bit of this dark purple out and we'll get started. So, I'm just gonna start with this dark purple. It's a little thick, so I'm gonna add some water to it. I'm gonna start with one of these stones here. Now, I've put this in such a position I'm not gonna get that back side of the stone, but nobody's gonna see it anyway. Of course, you wanna get right down to the sand layer. But not on the sand. All right, there we go, that's the first one. You just want to kind of see what that looks like. It doesn't look like much yet, but we got that base coat on everywhere. I'm gonna put a little bit more of this paint out. All right, base coat's done for those 4 pieces. That's looking pretty good. I need to do the base coat on the one. Give me just a moment. On this candle, I'm just going to use this buff color. Oh my goodness, it is clogged up. That'll be good. Get that in a minute. It's kind of a greenish yellow. I'm just going to do this candle in that color. I'll probably do a second coat of an off-white on top of it. All right, there we go. All right, so we've done all the base coats, and we're going to move into this second color as soon as this dries. All right, we are back, and looks like we're still a little damp, but I'm going to start working into it. What I did was I mixed maybe 20% of the dark color into that medium color. It's kind of this ugly purple, but we're just going to start right in with that color. So, here, let me show you with this one, you know, base coat, mid-tone. All right, we'll let it dry and do the next one. Okay, this purple has dried really well. It's starting to really look like purple, which I like. And we're going to go into the next stage, which is kind of bringing up that medium purple to a highlight kind of color. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that out. Like I said, I'm going to mix this ruby in with it. That's like an amethyst or ruby kind of color, or amethyst, I think. And I'm jammed up here. Let's see if we can get unjammed. There we go. Yeah, I like that color a lot. I'm just going to mix these two. And to kind of get, I need more more of the ruby, I can tell, or amethyst. What is this? Sparkling amethyst. There we go. Now I'll quit saying it the wrong way. I think I'm gonna need to mix just a little bit of off-white into this to kind of brighten it to where I want it to be. That's better as a color, but I want it to be slightly brighter than that. So I'm gonna just use this ivory. Not a lot, just a little bit. Yeah, that is a much better color for what I'm looking for in the palette. And now I just hope that lasts for the entire paint job. So I don't have to try to match this color again. Added just a little bit of water, and man, did it change again. I think what I'm gonna have to do, because it's just not getting the tone I want. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put out some of the metallic amethyst here and see if I can just add a little bit of the bone or ivory to it and get the color I'm trying to achieve. Yeah, that's better. Drop of water in this. That's what it is when I put that ivory in there, it really kind of faded it toward mauve, a color I didn't really want. This is the color I wanted, that second one. So what I'm gonna do is just kind of work in. I'm not trying to get everywhere, but definitely the edges along the top. Kind of do this jagged line at the bottom. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Really looks kind of purplish. And not trying to do everything in this color, but to get that color on there. Okay. Now this bigger piece, and really what I want to do is to catch these upper highlights and the flat pieces, but not do everything. Definitely not the side. Yeah. Just catching the corners and the long edges. All right, now for the skull. This background piece, I'm just going to go into real lightly and kind of feather the color. There we go. That is the look I was trying to achieve. So let me rinse my brush. I know that these are two different pieces, but You can kind of see that mid-tone to that upper. That's exactly what I wanted. This kind of metallic purple, like it's almost glowing. I think that's gonna look really good on the battlefield with that green highlight, just lightly dry brushed on it. These pieces with less detail, it's a little harder to do this kind of work, you know, and make it look good, but it's still gonna look good on the tabletop. All right, last one here. I don't know that I need the dark color, so I'm gonna just try this with the light color first. All right, so let's try it on this one. I'm gonna take this green, rub it off, and then not really getting anything on there. Let me try one more time. Yeah, it's just not quite working the way I want it to. Oh, there we go. It was starting to. Yeah, I just don't know that that color specifically is gonna do what I want it to do. It's starting to, but I almost feel like, I'll show you what I'm thinking. I was thinking dry brush, but maybe I can do this with brush. Let me try it on this little, so I can always go back and repaint. I don't like the effect. I just catch these edges. It kind of looks like I want it to there, where you're just catching a hint of green. And so maybe I just need to work into, let me try the dry brush one more time here. Because I'm wondering if it's just the paint being too wet or something. Because see, that kind of gets the look I'm looking for, but not as good as brushing it on. But that looks pretty good with the, you know, it's got that green purple look. So maybe what I need to do is just get a different green. Or edge it like I did that one piece. And then do a little bit of dry brushing because the edging really does look better. See, I just don't know if it gets too muddled. Well, those two I did that way, but I just don't know if that's the look I want. I think what I'm going to do is not do that, and on the other two, and stick to maybe brightening up that amethyst and just see which one I like better, because it's just not coming off with the effect that I want. And I don't know if it's maybe just the consistency of the screen or the way I'm applying it, not sure. But anyway, we'll go back with this amethyst color. And you know what I'm going to do is not use an ivory, but use a white. That's a tiny amount of white. Let me just work into this piece with this color just a little bit and see what I think of it. I think it's too close to the other color. And you know what it might be is that I'm trying to add white to it, and maybe what I need to do is to put a brighter purple. Yeah, just not getting me the effect I want at all, so I'm gonna back up and punt and put just a little bit of this white out by itself. Yeah, I think the white's gonna be too powerful. Try one more thing. Just gonna try it as a dry brush on this piece that is already struggling. That actually looks closer to what I was thinking. It's funny. I'll do this one too, just to see if I end up liking how that looks. And maybe that's all it needed. So, give me just a minute. Is maybe what I just needed was just white in order to make it go the way I wanted it to. Yeah, I think I just like the white better overall. All right, so let me show you the differences. This was with the green, and this was with the white. And the white actually looks the way I wanted it to. So I think I'm gonna stick with this. I'm gonna repaint these two pieces here to match those. And that's how it'll look at the very end. But this is the right look because that looks like I wanted it to. All right, well, there we go. You got to see me play with color theory a little bit and go the wrong way and then figure out the way I wanted it to. Hope that helps. Like I said, you know, all the pieces will end up looking like this. And I think that'll turn out really well. The next step we'll do is adding some flocking and then do a matte varnish on top of these. Talk to you soon. Okay, everybody, so I'm about to finish this project up. I'm just going to use, these are the 4 pieces of terrain. We did settle on the amethyst at the end with the white dry brushing, you know, the pure white, and that actually worked out really well. It got the look I was looking for. I think these pieces look great the way they are. I did fix the 2 that I'd put a little bit of green on because I didn't like the way it looked. Anyway, I've decided to use this flocking, not static grass itself, but this is kind of more of a pebbly green. And I'm going to use this, and of course PVA, white glue, and I've got my ceramic tile again, and a really short dry brush from Army Painter that I like to put on glue with. And then the other piece of technology that we're going to use is, of course, a very thin sheet of PVC plastic, because what we're going to do is we're going to put that underneath, and that way we can catch the static, you know, this pebbly flocking, and put it back in when we're finished. You'll see what I'm saying in just a second. I'm not going to water this glue down at all. I think for this specific project, sometimes I water it down depending on what I'm doing with it. But for this one, I really want it to be exactly where I put it. So I'm just going to go in here and do very organic shapes. And I'll do this on each one and show you at the end, but you can see this really doesn't take long to do. And this glue is not going to dry too quickly, so you don't have to worry about it, you know, going in a hurry or anything like that. All right, that looks pretty good to me. So now what I do is I'm just going to take a pinch of it at a time and kind of sprinkle it over these glue areas. All right, just making sure you can see that well. Okay, now, once it's been on there for just a second, you can tap off the excess and touch up any areas that you think are still a problem, like this one here, that one right there, I can tell, and maybe this one over here. All right, I'm gonna let that sit for a second. All right, so that's what it would look like with the grass on it. And you know, this is naked on grass. All right, so, and then the special technology is that I can take this PVC sheet and just use it as a funnel, get all my flocking back into the tub, which is perfect for a project like this. That way we're not wasting any materials. Now, could you pour glue directly onto it? You can. I can show you on the next piece how that would work. I'm not going to do it on the bigger piece. I'm going to do it on the smaller piece. But you have to be very, very controlled with it. I enjoy putting it on with the brush a little bit better just because I feel like I can kind of direct it where I want it to go a little bit easier with the brush, and I can make more organic shapes, but you can apply it directly from the squeeze tube of PVA glue for sure. All right. Once again, I'm just going to pinch this and put it on all the spots that I put the PVA glue. Should go pretty quickly. I am going to have to pick the piece up to get it into that crevice area, but that's okay. All right, so what I'm going to do is take a pinch of it and just do like this. And then I've got it just a little bit over here. All right. There we go. Kind of see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks really good. Now, I think this flocking to me looks a little bit more like moss. That's why I like it for this piece. Scoot that to the side. Over here, I'm going to show you about the applying the glue directly to it. The thing is you have less control, so you got to be easy with it. But what you would do is, I'm going to adjust this to have the right flow. I turned it in just a little bit. You want it just on the break of it's coming out but not gushing. And you can go in, and probably what you want to make sure you don't do is to pull a string from one piece to the next. But you can do it this way, but as you can see, what I would do in this particular case is some of this is really thick because of the way I'm applying it straight from the tube, which, like I said, I've done before, especially when you're doing a big piece, it helps. But I really recommend that you take the brush and you kind of smooth out this stuff. You don't want it heaped up as much as this. You want to kind of spread that just a little bit because the heaped up glue is going to take a lot longer to dry and is going to eat up a lot more flocking material than might be necessary to actually do what you're looking to achieve. But I don't like doing it this way. I have done it this way before. You know, choose the way that makes the most sense for you and your terrain situation. This is just, for me, best practices are to put it on with the brush only, because I feel like you're wasting material, and that might not be a concern for you. But if you're doing lots of projects, you want to let this stuff last for a long time, glue and flocking. Also, if you do put it on like I just did through the actual squeeze tube of the PVA glue, you are going to have to let this sit just a little bit longer than we do the other piece. You know, it's not just a second. You're going to need maybe 15-20 seconds for this to actually adhere the best way. I don't like just bumping it right off when I've piled up glue like that. You're going to end up with pieces of glue that are translucent, that you're going to see through the flocking material if you bump it right off. So, you know, a couple of different ways to apply it, and you just have to change your technique. All right, I'm just bumping that off now. All right, you can see though, I mean, the difference between one and the other isn't that drastic. This that I just applied with the PVA glue is a little puffier. That's it, but I mean, it doesn't make it inherently look better from across the table, in my opinion. But if you're looking for it to be a little puffier, put it on with the applicator, you know, the actual tube of PVA glue does give you a slightly puffier look to the terrain, but not anything that I'm like, oh, that looks so much better. You know, it doesn't really aesthetically make the piece look better or worse. I can just see a little bit of glue popping out here. And that does happen over the time. So you can work back into a piece if you see glue kind of bubbling up to the surface, is reapply just a little bit of flocking onto the area that you did before. And anything that, you know, where the glue has risen to the surface, you can put new flocking on top of it. All right, so last piece here. Let me funnel this flocking material into my container. All right. Then, oh, I got some on my palette there. It's not great, but not the end of the world either. All right. So, just working back into this one. And as you can tell, this doesn't take long. You know, from us putting on the dry brushing to getting to the spot, I waited twice for things to dry there for about 15 minutes. But heck, I did all of these probably in a 2-hour, 3-hour period from start to finish. You know, once I started painting, now the build time probably took that long. It probably took 2 hours just to build them and get them to the spot where they had the spray primer on them. But once I had the spray primer on them to this spot where we're finished, I mean, the only thing I'm gonna do is let this dry for maybe 20 more minutes, you know, for the glue to adhere really well. And then I'm gonna top coat them with a spray matte varnish. And that's it. I mean, I'm gonna be finished with this project. So total start to finish, you know, this project was probably 4 hours, maybe an hour a piece for these pieces of terrain. 3.5 to 4 hours is what I would guess. And I've got 4 pieces of great looking terrain. And that's with dry times. You know what I'm saying? Is like, that's not just straight start to finish. So, you know, not much effort, not much work. An afternoon, you could do this and be, you know, having 4 new pieces of terrain or 5 new pieces of terrain on your tabletop with, you know, that look really epic without too much effort. I just think it's always good to kind of share with people what the total time was, because I don't want people to get frustrated with it and be like, oh God, that took me so long. But even if it's your first time really building terrain like this, and it's going to take, you know, a little bit longer that first time you do a piece of terrain. To me, I'm like, even if you spent 2 days, but you got 4 or 5 new pieces of terrain onto your tabletop that look great, man, you can't beat that. It's just really fantastic because it changes the whole game to have really, you know, cool terrain out there. I also like to go over cost. I mean, total cost for this project, I've reused a lot of things. A lot of these grave markers were from other projects, meaning it was bits of resin that I had left over from 3D printing, or, you know, something that I did along the way that I had a sprue of resin. All these grave markers came from that. Just this piece and that, and so just to kind of make sure we get this, The candle, the headstone, and this grave marker were the only things that I purchased, and it was probably under 20 bucks to get those resin pieces. I made these two pieces out of these headstones. I made out of, you know, the same PVC 3mm, 4mm material that the base is done on. And so, yeah, I would think that under 40 bucks to do everything we did, because I mean, you know, you buy glue, you buy flocking, you buy some paints, but you're using these same paints over and over again. And same thing with the flocking and the glue. If you're conservative with it, you know, this box of flocking that I got from Army Painter, I probably had for at least a half a year of projects, and it's still good. You just have to be conservative with the recapturing. I probably used half of it. Now that I'm looking at it and kind of shake it through, I probably used half in 6 months on just terrain pieces like this. So I feel like that for 40 bucks, 50 bucks, you know, you're talking $10 a piece on these pieces of terrain, and you're still going to be reusing some of the things you bought. Totally a win for you and your friends when you're gaming, or your gaming store. If you're hosting an RTT or just want a cool graveyard set on the tabletop, this looks great. Anyway, I'm just gonna take some great shots of these so that you have some good photos toward the end. And you know, we'll catch you on the next video where I'm gonna do 2 mausoleum type houses, you know, that are kind of more stone and marble kind of look, that go with this, that are a little bit bigger. And then I'm gonna do 2 hills that might have like walls and, you know, like a stone wall or something to go with them. And then, you know, I already have trees. I have fall trees. I'm just going to use these fall trees with this table set, and putting it all together, it's going to be a great piece. I just love it. Really creepy for a Vampire Counts player or something like that. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and, you know, subscribe to the channel. Share it with your friends that are also in the hobby, and we'll see you soon on our next project.